Hi, my name is Rena Kozak, and I'm talking to you today from my recording studio in Montreal. And I'm here to talk to you today about career opportunities in the music industry, specifically about sound and how it relates to the music industry. Sound engineering plays a major role in the music industry, obviously, because without sound, we would never get to hear the music. There are so many different roles that a sound person can play in the music industry. I'm going to try to talk about as many of them as I can, and specifically about all the ones that I have done over the last 20 years. As a sound person, you can work in a recording studio or you can work in live sound. I've done a lot of both. I've mostly spent my career as a live sound engineer, but I also work in a recording studio, sort of on the side. Some of the jobs you can do in a recording studio are being a recording engineer, setting up the mics, recording the instruments. You can be a mix engineer, mixing the tracks when they're done. You can be a record producer, supervising all the recording, making plans for the project. You can be obviously a songwriter, composer, sound designer. You can be a mastering engineer, putting it all together for the final product. So that's kind of the gist of recording opportunities. Then on the live side of things, obviously you need somebody controlling the sound. People in the audience need to be able to hear the music being played at a music concert. So we need somebody taking care of the equipment, taking care of the sound system. We need somebody running the mix that people get to hear. And we need somebody taking care of the sound that the musicians get to hear. And we need somebody maintaining the equipment. So some of those jobs are front of house engineer. That's the person who is actually mixing the sound that the audience gets to hear. Then there's the monitor engineer, and that is the person that's mixing the sound that the musicians get to hear. Then we would have a system tech, and that would be somebody who makes sure all of the speakers are aligned, pointing in the direction they need to point, and that they all sound the way that they need to sound. Then we also need stage technicians who make sure everything is patched in correctly, which means the microphones are plugged in the right places and pointing on the right instruments. And sometimes stage technicians also manage the instruments. So you have somebody who sets up and techs the drum kit, and somebody who does all the tech for the guitars, makes sure all the instruments are functioning correctly. And then there are venue sound technicians. So the person who manages the venue sound system, makes sure that it's installed correctly, makes sure it sounds right, and also coordinates with any touring bands that are going to be coming into that venue, making sure that we have all the microphones that that band's going to need, making sure we know that the stage is big enough that it's going to hold all of their equipment, make sure that the band knows where to go when they get there and what to expect. So there's a lot of work involved in being a venue sound technician, managing equipment and people. And I'm mostly going to be talking to you about my experience as a venue sound person today. So there are a lot of things to be responsible for as a venue sound person. You are managing equipment and people, and it's pretty exciting. You can also be a touring sound person. I've done a lot of work on the road with different bands traveling around the world, and essentially you're just doing one of those live sound jobs, but traveling and doing it in a different city every night. So sound engineering is extremely important to the music industry because it affects how the audience and the listener get to hear the music that's being presented. We have so much responsibility for the experience that people have when they're enjoying music, and essentially whether or not they enjoy it is kind of up to us in how we make it sound. Basically, in any situation where there's someone who is listening to something, that means someone needs to be responsible for the sound quality in that situation. And that is a job for someone to do as a sound engineer.